Hello there. Have our buddy Violet here, and we're just talking about the simple sit today. Most people, when they teach sit, they do it, taking their food and just moving the dog back. Violet sat right down. Obviously, she has already learned a little bit about that. And I have already taught her to sit just with a lure, so some kind of food. But I always teach it with a physical cue as well. And the reason I do that is there'll come a time when they're just too distracted. They can't focus, too much going on around them, and they need that extra bit of physical cue to help them to pay attention. So it'd be like, I have a 3-year-old. So it'd be like, I say Juliet. She's off in Juliet world, and I would reach over and touch her hand, and then bam, she snaps back to what the fact that I'm talking to her. And sometimes that's what puppies need also. Good girl. Good girl, is to help them to focus, sometimes with a physical cue as well. So when I teach sit, I teach it, yes, with the lure above the nose. Go on. But I also teach it with 2 different physical cues. The first one I've worked on a couple times, but not really. And that's taking your hand and touching their back, and you're not pushing down on their butt. This is not a muscle move. It would be the equivalent of what you would grab a peach with. So you're just, basically touching right here on her hiney, very gently. And you would do it with the lure that you're already using. So I'm going to move it forward so you can see a little bit better. And sit. And I do the food and my hand. So that she can learn what that means. That when somebody, touches the top of her back or her flanks, kind of, gently, that it's a physical reminder of what she needs to do, which is sit down. So we'll do it again. Sit. Good girl. Very good. Sit down. Zach really desperately wants my food. Sit down. Says, I'm already sitting. Can't you just reward me again? Come on, bye-bye. Come on. She's learned this. Sit gets her rewarded a little too well. Come on. And here comes the cat. More distractions. All right. Stand up. Whoa, okay. All right, so the other way that I teach it is, there's a leash on her. The reason I'm doing that is because I teach that when I lift the leash up, it's a physical cue that they need to sit. And the reason I do a leash lifting, it's a little bit of gentle pressure, is that if say you're taking a walk and you run into somebody you know, and your dog's zigzagging around your feet and you want them to sit down, you don't want to have to stop and ask them to sit. You can teach them this physical cue of just lifting the leash. Oh, and they magically sit. For the record, I have never done that before, so it's just a complete fluke that the dog sat. But that's what you're going to do, is cue the word sit with lifting the leash. Come on, run it. Sit. Good girl.
Okay, first
Good girl.
the lumpy, bumpy hill.
Sit. Good girl. Good girl. So that's the 2 physical cues that you need to use. Touching their back with your hands like you would hold a peach, very gently, and lifting of the leash. Zach, so just in your tail. So that you have something to fall back on in the many, many times that your puppy or dog will totally ignore you as if they cannot hear you. When you ask them to sit, you can fall back and go, okay, now I have another option, because otherwise what you find yourself doing is repeating yourself. Sit, 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 and it just gets louder and more ridiculous. And it's still not going to work. So you have to have something different in your pocket to use instead of just crazy dog. Instead of just repetition of saying sit, 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 sit. You want your dog to sit the first time. And if he doesn't sit the first time, then definitely the second time when you fall back on touching them or lifting the leash, you can physically help them to get into the sit position. And it really sets them up for success. So that's the simple sit.